Welcome to a special WTCH presentation. Race for Sheriff 2018, You Decide. The views and opinions expressed on this program today are those of the host and those appearing on the show. They do not necessarily reflect the view and opinions of WTCH Radio. WTCH makes no representation of the accuracy, completeness, or validity of any information on this program. After this presentation, WTCH will make copies available at our website, tchdailynews.com. Enjoy this special programming, Race for Sheriff 2018, You Decide, from WTCH Radio.
Good morning, I'm Doug Rogers on WTCH. Welcome to our special programming today, Race for Sheriff 2018, You Decide. Our studio guests this morning include Incumbent Sheriff Adam Bieber, producer Kayla McKenzie, videographer John Kupski, and Chuck Dallas, who will be presenting our candidates with questions.
Thank you, Doug. Today we're talking with incumbent candidate Adam Bieber. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Chuck.
Adam, you'll have 25 minutes to answer our main topical questions in the categories of communication, drugs, highway safety, budget, and employment. We'll then open the floor to questions from your opposer with a 2-minute limit, and then we'll offer a close for you for 1 minute to talk about anything you'd like to. So our first question is on communication. How have you or how do you plan on keeping the community informed when it comes to issues that affect their safety? And what information is important to know?
Well, hey, I just want to quickly thank you for this opportunity to be here. It's something that I've always done as sheriff, is come in on the radio once a month. But I also want to say what a great weekend. We had Caroline Colorama, we had Travis Tritt in town, Neil McCoy. Youth hunt was going on, and the Hawks got their first varsity win. So those are all good things, and a great weekend with the Brewers win also. So
Right.
So what I've done, and I ran on this in 2014, and when I was elected sheriff as 2015, I quickly implemented it. Communication with the public is very important. It's something that the sheriff's position needs to strive on and be. It needs to be a focus for them. We've implemented our Facebook page. The sheriff's Facebook page was there for quite some time, but it was underused, and so we've raised those communication with our listeners and our followers. I think they used to have 2,000 likes. We're up to 18,000 people following our page. Wow. We put a lot of information out there. We put weather information, traffic, highway safety information. We put information out there of what's happening on each community. Our daily reports, our monthly reports, we put all that information out there. We just posted a photo of all the ATV routes in Shawano County, and so that's one way we communicate. We also hand out an annual report. That's the first time that's ever happened at the sheriff's office. Typically, only the county board members get that annual report. We summarize it and we hand it out to the public. We want everybody to know what's going on with the sheriff's office, what their budget looks like, what kind of crimes are happening, and it's been well received by the public with our annual report. Like I said before, I come in every month. We do a monthly radio show. Again, we talked to Doug Rogers on that show, and we kind of give an update of everything that's going on every month and what people need to be aware of. The other thing is one of the new services that we've implemented since I become sheriff. It's Code Red, and that's an emergency notification system. I'm sure you got the presidential alert that everybody else did. That's part of that Code Red, and it costs Shawano County about $14,000 to $15,000 every year. It's a great cost because it keeps people safe. If you get out to rural areas in Shawano County, those sirens don't work for those folks.
Right.
And so Code Red is a great notification for people that are in rural areas, and it gets the information to them directly. It even works with landlines. So it's an important service. It's one of 9 new services that we've offered since I became sheriff, and it's a great thing for keeping people notified. One example I want to give of our communication and how it works well, is when we were implementing the Safe School initiative, we heard feedback from 2 schools that weren't going to participate in the Safe Schools initiative. And I put out on our Facebook page, I had a video update, which I do regularly. And people in those communities contacted their school district, and they quickly changed their mind by the end of the day. And they're now participating in the school Safe School Initiative. One of those schools got upwards to about $65,000 because of it when they weren't going to participate before. So that's how communication works, and that's how I'm accountable to the public. I let them know what's going on in their community when it comes to school safety or highway safety. And if I don't agree with something, I will use my communication skills and tools to try and keep people informed and get involved in their community.
Sure, sure. Well, and maybe you've touched on some of this with your answer, but how can we create or continue to create an overall positive relationship between the general public and our deputies?
And that's a topic that, when I ran for sheriff, that was huge. Back in 2014, there was a lot of shootings across America. There was a lot of riots. Our president at that time really didn't support law enforcement, and there was a disconnect between the public and our community and the police department. And that's one thing I strongly believe in is it's Sir Robert Peel's principles of policing, that the public are the police and the police are the public. And we had to get back to that. And one of the things I used to build those relationships back is training. We started training people in CPR. We've trained over 100 people in CPR, Heimlich maneuver. We trained over 100 people in concealed carry. We started a Citizens Academy, which never has been at the Sheriff's Office before. We bring people in there and we show people exactly what we do at the Sheriff's Office. We give them a tour of the jail. We give them a tour of dispatch. We put them in live shooting situations. So they can ride along with us if they'd like. We show them the budget, how everything works. And it's really been a positive thing between us and the community. And we've really been building bridges these past few years. Just the other things that we do, we go to Cone with a Cop, Coffee with a Cop. Yep. We're down at the fair. We now have a booth down at the fair where people can approach us and ask us questions. So since I become sheriff, I think we've really done, we've changed the direction of the sheriff's office. We want to work with the public. It's just not a mentality where you call us and we'll take care of things. We want to work with the public and solve problems that are in our community.
Good, good. Our next category, Adam, is drugs. How does Shawano County compare to other counties when it comes to illegal drug dealing and use? And how much of the department's time is spent on drug-related calls?
Well, obviously we have drugs here in Shawano County. Believe it or not, there's drugs here. And luckily, we're not Milwaukee, we're not Marathon County, we're not Brown County, we're not Marinette County that has a huge drug epidemic going on. I would not call us an epidemic, but people are losing lives. The last 2 years, we've had 3 overdose deaths related to opiates. This year, we're currently at 1 death, but we're waiting on testing for 2 of those cases, and we might have 3 this year. So we average about 3 deaths every year. And that's a problem. Anytime we lose someone too early, that's a problem in my mind.
Right.
And it's something that we really work hard on. We have a full-time detective working just drug cases alone all the time. We have 2 canine officers working drug-related cases. They're out on our roadways trying to stop drug trafficking. They're highly involved with the city police department and the sheriff's office when they go to search warrants. So the canines have been a great tool in that battle and
Sure.
that fighting drugs. But I don't want to underemphasize that we don't have a problem, but we're not as bad as other counties. We're below average. We're a rural county, but we definitely have issues that we need to address, that we got to continue to work on, that we're going to need to build bridges with the community and keep fighting the good fight on that front.
Yep, yep. So what can we do or continue to do to cut down on the distribution of illegal drugs in our community?
Well, and I kind of touched on that a little bit. So when I became sheriff, and I talk about this, we've raised the expectations at the sheriff's office. One of the things we've raised is how deputies do their job. We expect reports to be done at the end of the day. We expect them to be out in the road being present. And presence is the number one deterrent for any crime. Burglaries, drugs, trafficking, you name it. We need to be present. So we get our deputies out there. They've been doing a lot better job being present on our roadways. We've got over 70 some criminal convictions on drug cases. Our 2 canines are out there stopping the distribution of drugs as much as possible. The other thing that we're working on is preventative measures also. We work with Human Services for programs, getting kids in early. There's a lot of free services that Human Services provide. So if you see the signs of addiction in someone, whether it's alcohol, and that's the one thing I really want to mention. We keep on talking about heroin and fentanyl. Alcohol is still the main drug abused here in Shawano County and by people. So we cannot forget about alcohol. So we get people involved early on in those programs. We have drug court. That's one of the 9 new services that we offer here in Shawano County that was not here before. Drug court helps people break their addictions. Unfortunately, it's not a preventative one. It's more of a reactionary one, but it's something. It's helping people break that addiction and get them moving on and being a productive citizen. So the other thing that we're working hard on is, like I said, we have a full-time detective working on that. We have 4 other detectives that help out with drug investigations. But what we're going to start working on is all of our deputies should be drug detectives. They should all be focused on seeing the signs of drug use, transportation, sales, and try and stop that as best as possible. We recently had the largest drug bust in Shawano County's history, and that all started with a traffic stop, and that's why we focus so much on traffic safety, highway safety. Timothy McVeigh was pulled over and caught by a traffic stop.
Sure.
So that's something that we preach to our deputies, that their presence on the roadways matter. And our detective, Nick Pry, has worked diligently, following leads, forming informants, and he's worked with the city really closely with Detective Ryan Atkinson, and they're doing a great job trying to fight the drug epidemic.
Good. Are our current laws at the county level fair and efficient in handling drug-related crime? And is it set up in a way that is proving success in the long term, or is anything missing?
I think currently our laws are set up fairly now. Before it wasn't. We were charging everybody criminally for marijuana, whether it's small amounts or large amounts. And that just wasn't fair to everybody. It was backing up our criminal justice system. It was filling up our jails. And it wasn't fair to the people. And I truly believe in our Constitution and the right to a fair and speedy trial. And a lot of people that were caught with small amounts of marijuana were charged, and it was held over their head. And our court system so backed up that they weren't able to see a judge or get a plea of not guilty, guilty, or be judged in front of their peers.
Sure.
So those folks can't move on with life. They can't apply for jobs with a criminal charge hanging over their head. Those kids can't apply for college with a criminal. Nobody's going to accept them. So what we implemented is something that was common sense throughout the state of Wisconsin, and we implemented the ordinance against marijuana. And it gives our deputies an option. If there's small amounts, or if, let's say there's a carload of kids and, there's one joint.
Yeah.
Instead of charging everybody criminally, all 4 of them for possession of marijuana, and nobody's claiming possession of that joint,
Right.
Typically all of them will get charged. Now we can issue an ordinance violation. They can see a judge in a timely manner within a month or 2, and if found guilty or not guilty, they can move on with their life, and it won't hurt them down the road. And that's a common sense way to approach it. A lot of other communities have adapted that. I'm proud to say that we finally adapted that here in Shawano County, because before that, it wasn't fair. It wasn't constitutional in my mind.
Yeah, good. Last one in this category. What can the county do better to prevent drug use before it starts? And how can the Sheriff's Department be a resource in making that happen?
Well, what can government do, right? So there is a role for government in that. And so, one thing that I think all Americans should be in favor of is making sure our borders are secure. One fact that is out there that a lot of people don't know is that most of the drugs in America come across our southern border, over 90%. That's marijuana, methamphetamine, fentanyl. Most of fentanyl comes from China, across our borders. Cocaine comes across our southern border. So we need to secure our borders here in America, and that's what government can help us do. And every American should be for that. Government has also been successful in limiting the use of methamphetamines. They've regulated Sudafed. So there is a role for government to do it. But at the end of the day, Chuck, you know that we can't arrest our way out of this. This isn't something that police departments can solve by themselves. At the end of the day, the most important institution in America is our families. Right. And our kids coming through those families. And so the best prevention, and this is the difference when you pick your sheriff, this is the message I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you that I can't save you. Our government can't take care of you. You have to take initiative, self-responsibility, and raise your kids in a good home. They need to know that they're loved. They need to know that they're worth something, that their life has a purpose. We have to give them a moral code. And they're going to be less susceptible to drug use, and they're going to be more successful. That's the best prevention that we can do here in America, here in Shawano County, here in the city of Shawano. Make sure that our families are strong, that they know how to raise their kids right, that they bring them up in a loving home. That's the best way we can do it. Everything else that we do is reactionary. Yep. If we don't start at the home, teaching them, educating them, our office has done everything that we can to stop drug use here in Shawano County. But it takes teamwork. It takes a community. It takes families bringing up kids, knowing that they're loved, that they have a value, that their life has value, that their life has purpose, and that they have a moral code. And we will arm them for life, and they won't be susceptible to drugs. We get trapped talking about drugs as if it's a wild animal, just going around biting random people, right? Yeah. We are human beings with mind and thought, and we don't have to fall to those addictions. Right. We all make choices, and personal responsibility is important, and it starts in our family homes.
Yep.
8 minutes remains.
Okay, our next category is highway safety. There are a number of factors impacting highway and roadway safety: drunk driving, drug driving, distracted driving, speed, road conditions, high-risk intersections. Is there a good all-in-one approach, Adam, that is efficient in battling these factors?
Well, we kind of talked about that early on. Communication. You have to communicate with the public. You have to notify people of what's going on in your community, the daily weather reports. Everybody should know where the dangerous intersections are. And what we tell everybody is no intersection is ever safe, right? We work with local agencies, the DOT Highway Department, to make our roadways safer. And for example, County Highway E, we put in rumble strips. We had a young gentleman die on that roadway, and there was no rumble strips. So we've been making small improvements across the county, trying to find dangerous areas where we can make improvements, moving the stop ahead sign closer to the stop sign, rumble strips, trying to get DOT. We have 8 state roads that come through Shawano County. We're always communicating with DOT, trying to have our roadways made better for our families and neighbors. And I'm always constantly working with our partners to do that.
Good. Since we're getting a little short on time, I think I'll move to our next category, which is department budget and expenses. How does Shawano County make sure they are up to date on useful technology, like body cams, scanners, computers, and stay within an already tight budget?
It's a challenge, Chuck. It really is. we're already at tax levy limits. But since I become sheriff, we've implemented a lot of new technology at the sheriff's office. I'm proud to say, we have online visitation at the jail, and it actually creates revenue and relief for our taxpayers. This year, we're at about 70,000 revenue. Next year, we expect over 100,000. So that's tax relief that we can give to the taxpayers.
Good.
And great technology.
6 minutes.
We have body cameras now at the sheriff's office. Forensic computers. We're one of the leading counties in the state when it comes to forensic computers. People come to us to get trained on it. People bring cell phones and computers to us from other agencies because we're so advanced in that area.
Right.
We also have drones, our UAVs. We're one of the first counties in the state to get a FLIR unit. We have 3 UAVs, and that has really helped us out with crash investigations, missing person investigations.
Sure.
So we have really increased our technology despite the challenges of a small budget.
Sure.
5 minutes.
Great. I'm going to move on to our last category, which is department employment. How does Shawano County Sheriff's Department staff salaries stack up to similar counties? And is it enough to attract and retain deputies, correctional officers, and department staff?
Well, we're behind. We're behind other counties, but we are a rural county. When you compare us to other counties, we're about 10 to 12% behind. Now,
Okay.
Oconto County just passed another increase for their jail staff. So now we're falling behind further. But when you compare us here in Shawano County to other jobs, we provide a fair wage, fair benefits, but the county should consider raising the pay at the jails for our correctional officers because that's where we're really losing people. So the county board should really consider that.
Okay. When it comes to employment at the jail, how does Shawano County compare to some of these other counties on employee retention and turnover?
Well, all you have to do is Google correctional officer retention in Wisconsin. We are not alone. Every jail in the state of Wisconsin is having issues with retaining correctional officers. This happens in a great economy whenever it happens. So we're in a great economy.
Right.
We can't compete with private sector, Monday through Friday jobs. We work 24/7.
Yeah.
We work with people that are willing to harm you. So when our employees get an opportunity to leave for a better job, they leave. When the economy slows down, they come back to us.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to move into some questions from your opposition. So, first one is, it's been noted that you're running on your record. There are certain things that you stated you'd accomplish but have not finished. For example, during your last campaign, you stated that the Shawano Police Department and the Shawano Sheriff's Office should start training together. However, there is no regularly scheduled training that combines the Sheriff's Office personnel and the Shawano Police Department personnel other than the Special Response Team. Why are you running on your record when you have not completed a number of things you promised?
Right, great question. We have accomplished a lot, and we train quite a bit with the Shawano Police Department. We're actually training the Stockbridge Muncie Police Department right now. We're actually training Bondwell Police Department. We work with Shawano Police Department much more now since I've become sheriff than ever before. Our drug detectives work very closely together. Before, they never worked together. They just didn't want to deal with the Shawano Police Department before. Now our drug detective works very closely with the Shawano Police Department, working on drugs problems. We train, our evidence technician trains very closely with the Shawano Police Department. We've never worked more closely together, and that's the truth.
Good. Okay. When you ran the first time, you said you were against funding the K-9 unit with donations and fundraising. You stated that the county board would give the money. However, that has not happened. How would you address that question?
Absolutely. As soon as I became sheriff, I met with SOS K-9 and asked them, hey, listen, I'm the brand new sheriff. It's a honeymoon period. Let's try and get this into the budget. SOS K-9 said, listen, we don't want to be in our budget. We don't want to be in the county budget. We know that they get cut every year. And they're right. our programs do get cut. Our dive team, we had to cut our dive team budget.
Sure.
We had to cut our firearm budget recently. So they're right. Fundraising has never been better for SOS K9. We've brought in more money the last 3 years than previous years. And so that's something that I wanted to do for them.
Yeah.
But there's wisdom in fundraising, and they have done a great job. We've worked really closely together. There's actually less fundraising now than what there was before, and we're actually bringing in more money. So that's something that I tried to do. SOS K9 did not want to be involved in that, being funded by the board. They like the freedom in raising the money, having a lot of money to use for training and equipment, and we're going to leave it at that.
Good, good. It's been rumored that there's a low morale at the sheriff's office. Why aren't you digging to the bottom of this low morale? Doesn't it help a department work well together and put the officers, and this low morale put officers at risk?
No, we don't have a low morale issue. Our officers are doing more. When you have low morale in a department, that means your officers don't go out and do traffic stops. You'll hear about that in Green Bay right now. They're refusing to do traffic stops right now because they're always fighting with administration. We've never had a grievance at the Shawano County Sheriff's Office with our union. Now, we've made a lot of changes. We've raised expectations. We expect them to go out and do work, but we've praised them so much more. We implemented the Employee of the Month. We praise them on our Facebook page, through our emails. That's something that I tell our lieutenants, our sergeants, our chief captain, chief deputy, our captain. We spend more time praising our guys now than ever, and it shows. Our guys are doing more work, more work product, and you wouldn't have that if you had a low morale.
Sure.
So our guys are doing well. Sure, there's some older deputies or older employees that don't like change. We got body cameras now. We got new uniforms. We expect that reports are due at the end of the day. A lot of those older employees don't like that, and they might grumble a little bit.
Sure.
But it's for the best of our community.
Yep. Good. And the last question that a listener sent to us, they would like to hear your position on concealed carry and gun control.
Well, that's very clear. I'm very pro concealed carry. I'm pro Second Amendment. I think everybody should be armed. We are a safer and safer community when people are prepared to arm themselves and defend themselves, because we know that police officers can't be everywhere. I mean, we literally have 4 deputies in the county at any given moment. How can we watch and protect 45,000 people? Yep. In the city, there's 10,000 people with 2 officers, maybe 3 officers. There's no possible way an officer can be everywhere at every time. People, if they're able, need to be prepared to defend themselves. They need to take personal responsibility in protecting themselves and their families and their neighbors. And concealed carry is a part of that.
Good. Yes. So time for a closing statement. From the feedback you've been receiving so far on your campaign, is there anything in the public perception that you feel is misunderstood or being misconstrued, or what else would you like the voters to consider on Election Day, Adam?
So this weekend I was at Angie's Main Cafe, and Angie, the owner, actually came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, thank you for what you do for our community." And I told her, "Listen, Angie, I live here. My kids are born and raised here in Shawano. They go to schools here in Shawano. I have friends and family, and not family, but I have friends in Bondwell. I have friends in Wittenberg. I'm committed to this community long term. I want to serve this community and give leadership to it for the next 15 years if possible, if the voters allow me to. I'm committed. I'm not afraid of change. And that's the one thing that people need to look at. You have to find a leader that's willing to motivate people, and I've proven that I can motivate people. And I've proven that I can make changes. We've implemented 10 new services just here alone in Shawano County in the last 3.5 years. I want to continue to work on that for the next 15 years here in Shawano County.
Very good. Well, Adam, wish you the best in the election coming up here in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck.
Stay tuned. Up next, we'll be talking with Challenger Officer Keith Sorley as our Race for Sheriff 2018 You Decide continues.